In this video, we'll discuss the basics of X-rays and X-ray generating devices, how they can hurt you, and how to protect yourself. X-ray generating devices produce radiation, but are not radioactive, meaning that they do not contain radioactive material. Therefore, they must be energized to produce X-rays. X-ray devices generate radiation by striking an anode with high-energy electrons in a vacuum tube. X-rays are a form of ionizing radiation, meaning that they strip electrons from matter, creating ion pairs. X-rays originate from the electron cloud and are waves of energy with no mass and no electrical charge. Their range is many meters through the air, but can differ dependent on anode material. X-rays are an external hazard, so shielding is required. The best shielding materials have high atomic numbers, like lead, concrete, or iron. When you are exposed to X-rays, the effect on your body is dependent on the dose and duration of the exposure. Your body can easily repair itself from small doses over time. However, these doses can lead to an increase in diseases such as cancer. For large doses, symptoms are more acute and can increase as dose increases. The effects of X-rays also depends on who receives the dose. Cells that are more actively dividing, like those in children, bone marrow, and intestinal linings, are more sensitive to damage from radiation. And because exposure to radiation can cause mutations, these effects may even be seen in future generations. Because of this possibility, dose limits were created after extensive research. It's also important to note that minors, embryos, and the general public have far lower limits. If there's a possibility for exposure above 10%, then dosimetry is required. This is the use of a monitoring device to measure your dose over time. If you do receive dosimetry, you have the right to these records upon written request. There are two types of X-ray systems, cabinet and open beam. Cabinet systems are shielded and interlocked to prevent exposure during normal operation. In contrast, open beam systems have several sources of exposure, including the primary beam, secondary emission off of samples, and diffracted rays from crystals. In both cabinet and open beam systems, a warning light is required to signal that X-rays are being produced. Every area containing X-ray producing devices will be posted with a sign having the radiation symbol and the words "Caution, X-ray equipment." In radiation safety, there's a common acronym, ALARA, meaning as low as reasonably achievable. We strive for this standard by following three principles: minimizing time spent in the radiation field, maximizing our distance away from the instrument, and using the proper barrier to shield the beam. It is the user's responsibility to maintain exposures as low as reasonably achievable, follow any accepted standard operating procedures, report any unsafe conditions or regulatory violations to your supervisor or EHS. Also, if you have any questions with the functioning of your equipment, take it out of service and report it to the unit supervisor. In the event of an emergency, turn off all X-rays and contact RUPD. After the incident is over, fill out an accident injury report form, and if applicable, an employer's first report of injury or illness. If you have any additional questions, consult the Radiation Safety Manual on our website or contact EHS.